All right, folks, we're about to get started. This is the second of a 3-part series. So as folks are coming in, I want to make sure you guys know we've got a live chat. We'll be stopping periodically throughout the workshop session just for you to ask questions, jump in, feel free to ask along the way. Alyssa on my team, she is really the brains behind all this, so she can answer the more technical questions. If it's a hard question, we'll give it to her. I am really very passionate, as many of you probably know and have seen on my own social media. This topic is one that is not going away. In fact, I said from a stage live in front of a bunch of solution providers and MSP owners, IT business owners last week in Dallas that we are never going to be less the need to be less visible online is just not happening. Just like those people that we were trying to upgrade from a T1 to fiber years ago as solution providers. They're never going to need less internet. We're never going to need less visibility online. And so this is your path to do that. So we're going to talk through all the things that get your content cited on AI search. And I'm going to pull up some slides. What we're going to get into today, Alyssa, as I mentioned, she is really the brains behind all this. Alyssa Bateman, she is our AEO and SEO strategist. We have a team that is essentially handling all things technical from a search perspective, also handling all things AI and, of course, LLMs, ChatGPT, Perplexity. We have so many different things that people are gravitating toward in terms of search. So Alyssa spends all of our time here at the Business Growers doing that and strategizing. She's been in other agencies for 15 years. She's super smart, leading our team in this way. And so I've asked her, she actually was on a previous workshop that we did about a month ago that is accessible to you if you want it. We're going to drop the link in the chat. Make sure you grab that, watch that as a part 1. And then we're actually going to be doing part 2 today. Part 3 will come next month, where we're actually going to move toward building authority with YouTube and video content, which is a kind of a third part of this, like I said, triple play. So a couple of just housekeeping things as we're going into our ground rules. First, if you are not currently following our YouTube channel, everything that I do, everything that we post, all the content that we're producing, it gets posted here first. So we're going to drop in the chat. My team will put in the chat our YouTube channel. Just make sure you're subscribing to that. Maybe not everything's for you, but all of this fresh new content goes straight there as soon as we get finished. So you'll be able to grab that quickly. And secondly, at the end of today, well, we're doing 2 really special things today that I'm very excited about. One is we're actually workshopping for a select participant today. We're going to be workshopping, if you so choose. If no one volunteers, then we'll just either pick somebody or just, roll with it. But we are going to actually be workshopping building what we would call a pillar content strategy for built for AI search that we, to help us really build out that strategic content. We're going to be doing that for somebody today. So if you're on today and you want to be the volunteer, the guinea pig, we'll do it for you. If nobody volunteers, then we'll just do it for somebody, generic, or we won't do it at all. We'll just kind of see how much time we have. The second thing is one thing we actually very rarely do for most of you that work with us or that know us. We are very serious about our no-growth scale framework and how important it is to make sure that from a foundational level, we are constantly accelerating our clients up. We very rarely offer like a one-off, AI-specific program, but I am meeting with so many people. Molly is on the call today too. She's having so many conversations of people who really don't want to get behind, but don't necessarily have the resources for a full-blown marketing program. Molly gave you us a heart in the chat. So Molly's available at the end of this. We're actually going to, she and I have kind of been butting heads about it. I'm like, I don't know that I want to do just this, but this is a great foundational program that we're going to offer before the end of the month. If you book time with Molly, she can tell you about just our AEO specific offer to make sure you're not getting behind. And then as you grow and build and have the resources, we can move you into a full program. But it's a great kind of starter pack for AI search if you're interested. But really what we're going to talk about today is, how to get cited in AI search and how content and making sure the content that you're building is very strategic and intentional. So Alyssa, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to be
Alyssa
here.
rocked it last time. You'll go learn from her in the last one. She's been very gracious to help prepare. But right now, so I got a bunch of folks in the room right now. So right now, I just want to ask you to be here right now. We are all very busy. We got a lot going on. Trust me, there is no one that looks at her calendar at the next hour more than I do. But right now, I'm committing to you that I'm just going to sit here and learn. Alyssa's got some stuff to say today that I'm excited to learn about. I'm going to put my participant hat on. If those of you who are, watching me put a fake hat on can also do the same. Just grab that participant hat, stick it on your head, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I got some thumbs up. Let's learn something today, and you might be the expert in this. And if you are, great, you can teach the next one. I'm really excited to have you on the next one, Alyssa. We can have somebody join us. But phone's on silent, turn the Teams and the Slack off, and just shut out those distractions so that you can be here right now and learn from us. So, okay, first we're going to talk about the problem. The problem is a lot of us, and I would love to see a hand raise if this is something that you're willing to hand raise or say, it's me. Let us know right now if you feel like you are spinning your wheels building content, because we got a lot of content. We got a lot of people using AI. The problem that we're having today is you're creating content and it's not intentional, or we're not getting anything out of it. Would anybody say that's me? Maybe give me a thumbs up, maybe a thumbs up. Yeah, I'm spinning my wheels with content. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. None of it's getting picked up by AI. We do know things are getting picked up by AI because that's where we're buying from, right? So one of the big things, and this is not, necessarily major data, this is just what's happening because I'm hearing enough of it, is the issue with your content and why it's probably not working is because you're sitting inside of a boardroom with a bunch of your peers at the office trying to figure out what to talk about. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why this matters in just a minute. So let's spin up this idea. Hey, we're going to this conference. You're thinking about your content calendar, for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and everybody in that room works at your company. No one's your buyer. So you wrote what you wanted to say, maybe not what somebody's actually typing in at 11 o'clock at night when their server went down, or when their email stops working, or their internet's broken, right? Then another problem that might be happening is your marketing person is working overtime trying to take ideas that just came from the CEO's brain in the middle of the night, perhaps. My team is like, we get it, we know. But you might have, a great content calendar that came from the boardroom, and you're working overtime trying to figure out how to make this stuff work. And the reality is you're still just spinning and creating a bunch of random ideas or conference content. Like, you're working hard, you're hitting those deadlines, you got some KPIs around producing a lot of content, but none of it started with a real buyer question from a real buyer. And so, if I say anything today, I just want to be clear that, while your marketing is not working, I had a very intent conversation in Anaheim a few weeks ago. Lydia and I were there, and I want to make sure we're clear about something. It may not be a people problem. It could be a systems problem, because nobody is giving your team a system for creating content that's actually going to move the needle. And right now, content that moves the needle is got to be very strategic. So, essentially what's happening, and this is kind of the whole thing, is you're not developing content based on these real questions from real humans. We're just spinning our wheels trying to figure out what type of content to create. Sorry, my mouse is going all over the screen, guys. But everything we're going to talk about today just kind of comes back to this. How are we creating content that the AI search engines will pick up? And if those of you who may not be familiar with the AEO term, we know we hear it, we don't know what it's about. AEO is answer engine optimization, and everything goes back to developing. We're searching differently. I know I said this before. My 76-year-old dad is on Claude and ChatGPT. He's searching for answers to his questions. Everyone's doing it. And so I would love if anybody is willing, and we're going to take a minute, make it kind of awkward for just a second. This could be your personal or your business. I would prefer your business, but I would love for somebody to drop the last piece of social media content we posted from a profile or a blog post, perhaps, because we want to be thinking about our content in a way. And if you're not willing to drop it, then just go look it up. Take it and look it up. But if you're willing to drop it in the chat and expose yourself, then feel free. If not, don't worry about it. But I just want to make sure that we are looking at the content because, and I'm not going to read it out loud or create it, but just make sure you capture it because I'm not, not going to call anybody out. But the point is just to kind of see, how our content is being written, how much it looks the same as some of our competitors sometimes, and to really start to create this sense of awareness internally around what our buyer is asking. I show this on every workshop that we do. You probably are tired of seeing it and hearing it, but this to me is an very important thing. And then we're going to hand it off to Alyssa to give us some kind of some nuts and bolts of this. But your buyer is asking different questions along the way, and LLMs and AI search engines, whichever the preference is, this is the type of information that's being looked for. And of course, just like any good search engine, the thing that bubbles up is not going to be 20 things. Remember, it's like 2 or 3, or it's a summary, right? So the questions that we're answering need to be real questions that our buyer is asking. And this is not something that we just figure out in the boardroom one day and go from there. So Alyssa, would you mind just talking for a minute about the content structure? And this is, kind of more on the technical side, but what actually gets our blogs or social media posts or whatever those things are, what gets us cited? Can we start there?
Yeah. So the shift has been happening for a while now, even in Google before the AIs took over, but they're all starting to favor content that's put into question structure.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's how most people search. And so when they're trying to grab exact answers, the first people they're going to cite, the first websites they're going to drive people to are the ones who are typing that exact question that the
Right.
customer typed in. And so we really need to start with like question first headers and stop titling sections like, here's our managed IT services. You need
Mm-hmm.
to say, what does managed IT support include?
Mm-hmm.
And then you answer what it includes from there.
Okay. So yeah, talk a little bit more about that. Like how do we know, what's getting cited? How do we know? I know FAQs are big. So yeah, talk a little
Yes.
bit more about that too.
So a lot of people have been putting frequently asked questions directly into their blog posts and even service pages, and we're finding that the AI is citing those first. And especially if you can put the question within the content itself, not just in an FAQ section, but if
Mm-hmm.
you will put it as a header and then directly answer it very first sentence, uh, that will help you pop up more in the AI search engines as well.
Okay.
And you want to make sure that you have FAQs on every service page, every blog post, not just like one generic FAQ page that's buried somewhere on the site. You need to have different FAQs structured for each service, each blog post topic that directly answers the questions people are answering or asking the most.
Okay. So we're about to talk about how to do that in exercise. Anything else about this that we need to know in terms of like getting cited and the structure of content? I know we got a lot more to say, but anything on this slide that you want to review?
Yeah, when I talk about headers, that's a formatting in like WordPress on the website. And so you want
Okay.
to make sure that it is like set as a header and not plain text, because
Oh,
Google does take your headers into account. It knows, hey, this is an important section, and it reads that first.
okay. And we just learned that Google is doing away with the 10 blue links. We already see it in the AI summaries right now, but essentially, from a technical perspective, what you're saying is to be able to get attention on Google and even get considered, you're going to
Yes,
have that
get it in
header.
the AI overview. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
people aren't scrolling anymore. They're not even hardly
Right.
clicking. But if they
Right.
see that you're authoritative and want more information, then they will click.
They can dig in. Okay. And then these FAQs, tell us a little bit about this because I know that we have like a standard FAQs, but it sounds like we're going to have to do a lot more work on these FAQs and get deeper, right? We're going to need to get into these questions that we're going to talk about in a minute, correct?
Yes.
We're going to
So
have to dig deep.
the best way we've found to kind of identify those FAQs is to just start with what your customers are asking on
Yeah.
your customer service calls.
Yeah. Love it. We're about to talk about how to do that. We got
Yeah.
some fun, tricky ways. All right. So What will I love just this data around what exactly is getting cited, because content types, it's not just one thing, right? And it's not just one place, which we'll talk about in a minute. But here's some good data from Meltwater around what's actually getting structured and what this means. So can you just talk about content types in a minute? Because this like, I don't even know what a listicle is, but you probably do.
Yeah.
Like, tell me a little bit about what this means.
So a listicle is when you say like the top 7 MSP providers in
Oh,
Seattle
okay.
or
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
But you and those are more for like aggregators, but there are ways you can take that format and put it on your
Sure.
website.
Yep.
And then after listicles is side by side comparisons, which is
Yep.
where you compare your service or
To a
services
competitor. Like, are
to a
we willing to do
competitor.
it? Yeah. Yeah. If
Yeah.
somebody is comparing you exactly with a competitor that you know you show up next to, why are we not willing to do it on our site? Now, we can certainly favor ourselves, right, with our own content since we own
Mhm.
it. But all right.
And then how to choose guides, those are roughly about 33% of what is getting cited. And so kind of like an example of that would be like how to choose an MSP for healthcare compliance. And you
Yeah.
go through and you say like what factors matter most.
Right. 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 Educational explainers, thought leadership. Yeah. These are the ones I think a lot of people are spending the most time doing. So it's less intentional, but it's still getting picked up, which is good,
And
right?
yeah, and it's not that like thought leadership isn't important. It's just not what people are typing into
Right.
the search engines
Right,
necessarily.
right. I got it. Okay. So this just shows you from a citation standpoint why it's very important to be intentional and not just random with your content, right? I think that's
Yes.
a good
Yes.
good note there. We just threw some screenshots here. I think this is covered up a little bit, but from an FAQ standpoint, like from what I'm hearing and learning, it's not just like you have one FAQ on your homepage,
Mhm.
right? So dig in. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, so this is kind of what the question first headers and FAQs look like in practice. As you can see from the like, what is a cloud-based voice over IP phone system? That's directly in the content on the service page. It's not
Yeah,
relegated to just one FAQ page.
right.
And then drop downs towards the bottom of the page, kind of rounding out whatever you couldn't cover within the content, you kind of round out at the bottom to capture those other questions people are asking.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, these can be very short, just like a couple sentences to a paragraph. And the more concise and direct you are, the better, because then the AI doesn't have to search for the answer on the page. It just
Mm-hmm.
sees it right away.
That's great. And so I also think it's important to note, like, this should not be difficult to come up with, because you should be getting this information from your customers, right? Of course, we have sources internally where we're going to grab what's being searched for to make sure there's alignment in terms of what's
Mhm.
being searched for. Again, if you're just sitting in a boardroom thinking of what they might be searching for, that's not going to be where you're going to get your answers. You're going to get your answers from a combination of data that we're pulling, and some data sources where you can actually go figure out what people are searching for, and then combine it with, if you have transcripts of your current customers as they go through onboarding, you probably get a lot of questions that you answer on a regular basis. You probably also, during a sales call, recorded sales calls. And if you do your sales calls out in the field, I've got some tools that I recommend: the OMI tool, a pocket recorder tool. There are lots of transcriber tools that you can take with you, where you can start capturing this. And with AI today, it's a very short process of grabbing all of those things and consolidating them to figure out what people are asking. But like Alyssa mentioned, it's not just one big old FAQ, because if we use, let's say our website has 30 pages, we need to take advantage of all 30 pages, right? There's no wasted, page. And if there's a page specifically about a location, then you can answer questions specific to that location. And make sure that you're getting, picked up in those specific local searches. So this is kind of a continuation of the picture of the guy and his journey, the map that I showed you all a minute ago. in terms of what are people asking. So top of funnel just means, for those who aren't in the marketing world, and she mentioned the things that are getting cited, the listicles, the guides. These are the questions that you can answer from the very top. That means they're just starting that search all the way through the decision. If you look at your website right now and you look at the questions that you're answering and you feel like you might only be answering questions at top of funnel, then we start to think that could be, there could be a conversion issue there. Now, this also can be done through emails. This is not just website content. This is emails. This is social content. But you see here, like, your buyer is not just asking one question and then making a purchase decision. If we're selling them something that's going to be a 36-month contract, we need to be thinking about all the questions that they might be asking. So you can do this again through interviews with your prospects and customers. Any input on this, Alyssa?
No, I think you covered it very well. It just, each question kind of follows through their buyer journey and from when initial research to making the decision.
Right. Right. And a really, really fun exercise is to take your full team, leadership team or some of your sales team members and put them in a room. I love doing this part, if you've got time, having them put the questions that they get asked the most often, then pull from a customer, from a database of lots of, maybe 20 or 30 customer recordings or prospect recordings, and then compare the two, just to see how far off you are, because they all might be great questions, but we want to make sure we're getting those questions our customers are asking, not just what we think they are, right?
Mhm.
All right, give us the painful part that we know none of us want to hear because we're probably all sitting on the left side. What's ready for AI and what's not in terms of writing and content writing?
Yeah, so generic content is just not going to cut it. It gets kind of washed out in the sea of all the other generic content. So the more specific you can be, the more likely you're going to be cited by AI, because it favors content that demonstrates real experience, real opinions, and real specific like statistics.
Mm.
And so a blog post that says managed IT services offer many benefits for businesses of all sizes is invisible, but a post that says, "Hey, we onboarded a 43-seat dental group in Memphis last quarter, and the first thing we fixed was their backup failure," that's
Yeah,
going to get cited.
here's the story about it. Yeah, that's awesome. So this kind of makes the case that I've been trying to communicate for quite some time. Thanks for the love. I see a lot of little emojis in this app. Appreciate that. This makes the case for those of us who might be a little scared to go from being a generalist provider to maybe sticking with a specific vertical. I believe that what we are seeing, that's not, by any means, not just a whim or vibes, but it is actual data. Like, if you are creating generic content because you are a generic provider or you have not been comfortable locking in on a vertical or a specialization. And I have lots of content on the YouTube channel about picking your differentiator, picking what makes you different. If you don't know or you're not willing to make that leap, AI search engines will not know, right? Alyssa? I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
we're gone are the days where we can just cast a wide net and be generic. We're going to have
Y-
to really get locked in
You
on being.
really, yeah, you really want the customer to see themselves on your website, not just
Yeah.
think that it could be for any customer. They want to feel like it was made for them, that
For
you're
them.
the fit for them.
Yeah. And that's what AI wants to see too. So there are lots of things that we need to get more specific about, but this is one I would say that is probably the most elephant in the room scenario. So we wanted to make sure we brought this up, and it's price. How important is it to talk about price on the website, Alyssa?
Very important. And in fact, Google is starting to favor providers that put a price on their website and have price estimators. They will even add a little tag to the SERPs, the search engine results page, saying, "Hey, this provider has a price estimator on their website." And so if you don't have that, you may not be shown at all.
Mm. So if anybody's willing to, in the chat, give us an emoji. So give me a thumbs up right now if you have your price on your website. It doesn't mean, we all know, because the response that I get, good, we got to see a lot of thumbs up. The response I get most of the time is, well, Laura, our price varies. And I think that's the case with a lot of us. So how would we address that on our website, Alyssa?
Yeah, so you can give a range and you can list some of the factors that affect the price depending
Yep.
on like seats or different services
Yeah.
included.
Yeah. Love it. So it doesn't mean that you have to give all of the nitty gritty details, but if you also just think about your buyer, if they're not finding your price and that somebody else has a range, the likelihood of them booking a call with somebody where they know what to expect versus they don't have a clue, there's that resistance that's going to happen, and you're buying, you're buying, the cycle of somebody coming to find you. And if I know that I've got 3 providers out there that are going to give me a price, or at least I know what I'm getting into, then I'm much more likely to book a
And
conversation with them.
it'll lead to better like qualified
Conversion.
leads as well because some people will self-select out if it's just like way
That's
outside
right.
of what they were thinking.
Yeah, give me a thumbs up in the chat if you don't want to waste any time with people who are not qualified to buy from you. Yes. So we want people who are ready to buy from us, who can buy from us. And one way to make sure that lead, there, we got lots of thumbs up going. One way that we can get that lead conversion higher quality is to make sure that we are giving all of those, details around price. So. All right. Feel free to drop questions in the chat if y'all have questions, as we go. I want to make sure we're answering those as we go, as we continue down this path. We actually showed this on the last AEO webinar workshop that we did about where content should live. I know that this is changing, maybe has changed a little bit since the last time even a month ago. This was in January, a report from January. So this changes every day. But Alyssa, it's not just about website, right? Website is important and it's an owned asset. So we know
Mhm.
that. That's great. If you're not doing it on your website, you need to be. But what else, where else should we be, talking about these things, other than our website?
Yeah, so AI wants to see that you have authority in the space, and the way that they kind of measure that is to see who else is talking about you or where else
Mhm.
you appear. And so it's important to kind of claim your space on some of these websites, LinkedIn being a major one since
Yeah,
that's B2B, but YouTube as well because Google owns YouTube, and so that's
right.
just another area real
Big
estate you
search
can
engine.
own with keywords.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think the point to really drive home here is that we know that marketing and especially content development and content writing can be overwhelming. And just as a marketer, a lifelong marketer, I know the pressure that a lot of you who may be sitting in a marketing seat or a sales seat might have on you to produce content that works, because it is difficult, like volume of content, CEO led, or directed content. Hey, post about this week. We want to post about this, but we really want to see results with the content. And so we don't just want to silo ourselves to one outlet. We don't just want to silo ourselves to only posting about trade shows and events. We want to make sure that our content's strategic and that it's varied in terms of visibility and where we're showing up. So if AI sees that you're showing up multiple places, then it's going to favor and know that you're credible, which is kind of how we are in life, right? The more referrals you get, the more credible you are. Yes, and I Reddit. Always surprised by that one. Reddit comes with its own set of challenges. Molly just dropped that in the chat. So of course Reddit comes with its own set of challenges, but it certainly, especially for B2B, is a good source. Okay, it's workshop time. Is anybody ready to build a content strategy instead of posting randomly? Can I get a thumbs up if you're ready to stop posting randomly? Let's quit. I love it. Okay. What this is, I love a visual, and my team, if they are on the call, they know I love a visual. And so this is a very simple way to do something that's not very simple. This is very time consuming. Obviously, there's a component of checking with, search tools and things that some of you may not have access to. This is why we actually decided to offer what we're going to offer at the end of this workshop, just for those people who maybe don't have the time or don't have access to some of the tools to be able to do this. But in a very simplified way, we're just going to walk through what actually you have to do to build a pillar strategy. You might hear it called something else. There are other ways to. Pillar is just like my inside language. Really what it means is being smart about the way that you're compartmentalizing your content. That's what it means. And being strategic about the way that you're compartmentalizing your content. So if you see here, a general rule that governs all of it is what we said a few minutes ago, which is you can't build a true content strategy if you're saying the same thing that everybody else is saying. It has to come out of the one thing that only you can say, and you say it over and over and over again. So your differentiator is what sits at the very top. Your differentiator is the thing that only you can say. So from that, and we're going to workshop that in just a minute, so we don't have to do this quite yet, but from that, we would want to build 4 or 5 or, more, but kind of keep it to 4 or 5 for the most part, what we like to do. Problem-focused pillars. So the 4 boxes that you see underneath the differentiator are essentially those customer problem-focused pillars. And for anybody who wants to be a volunteer, y'all can drop in the chat if you want to volunteer. If you don't want to volunteer, then we'll just pick somebody or just go for it. But that's coming next. So be ready if you want to be a volunteer. But we want to address 4 customer problems at minimum. And then this middle part right here that you see, really the questions they ask regularly about this, with each problem that we address. And again, we really want to be careful not to make our pillars about how great we are and not address the customer problem. And when we're in that boardroom, sometimes we just think about how great we are and we're not really hitting that pain point. And I can guarantee your customers are asking questions about the pain point. They are asking about that pain. So the questions that they regularly ask that fall under each problem here, those are the things that ideally you would, essentially go find in transcripts from customers, go poll or ask a customer roundtable would be great. A lot of times it's going to be, though, when they're genuinely asking you the question, they're not like, you're not in a room saying, we're doing this for, content on our website. Please tell us what you want to know. We really want to get the real questions they're asking. And then from there, every question around those problems become content. This becomes your content strategy. We want to make sure we do, eventually as you're building it, clips of video, because right now with AI, and we'll talk about this more on the third of the 3, what workshops that we're doing, but uniquely human in a world where everything sounds like AI is very important. So making sure that you have an answer to that question on your website, that you are creating blog content about it, that you do have a LinkedIn post about it, that you are creating content on video about it, and that your sales team has an answer to these questions. All of these things are how you build your content. But right now, what usually happens is all of the stuff at the bottom is happening. Maybe not. Maybe it's random, but it's not building upon a content strategy. And Alyssa and her team, magically, they add a layer that is not something that's really native to folks that might not have access to the tools. But we also want to look at what people are really searching for online. What is the volume around these things? Because if we're working our tails off for customer problem 3 and nobody's asking about it, then we don't necessarily want to generate a whole lot of content around something that there's not a high search volume for. So I love that. Physical pillars holding up a roof. Without them, the business is falling apart. I should have done a building here. That would have been a great visual. I love that. And I thank you for asking that. That's right. So we want our differentiator at the top, our customer problems, and all of those questions need to tie to a customer problem. This is just a way to keep it simple. So I just threw some kind of weak examples. I think that for the most part, these would have been okay before, but that we're digging deeper now, and the way that our search engines work today, just this alone is not necessarily going to get the depth. So, maybe we do choose something that looks like cybersecurity, but we need to have, again, what is that problem around cybersecurity and the questions that they're asking, instead of just like talking about cybersecurity, because a lot of people are talking about that, right? Alyssa, anything to add to these?
No, you've got it covered.
Okay. Okay, so this kind of just shows you, also verticals, like I said earlier, like niching down, picking a vertical. That vertical alone, even now, is not the problem, not necessarily enough of a problem. It's going to be what exactly is the problem that they have that we can talk about over and over and over again. All right, is anybody willing to volunteer? Okay, Chloe, we got a volunteer. Efficient, power, and light. I love it. Let me see if I can grab you, Chloe. Hold on. For those of you who are not Chloe, love Bruce. We can do you too. Love it. Anna, we can do Bruce, we can do yours if we have enough time today too. We still got about 20 minutes. So Chloe, if you can hop out and hop on the link that I just sent you, that will actually give you guest access and I'll be able to let you jump into the actual webinar. And now they are working around energy efficiency at EPL. So we will be, this is not necessarily an MSP, but we will certainly be able to do this. For those of you who are kind of listening and learning, go ahead and write down, whether it's a piece of paper or maybe you have the notes app up out off screen. Go ahead and type one customer that you have right now that you would take 10 of tomorrow. Like if I could have 10 more of these customers, I would take them tomorrow. So take a second, write down who right now are we working with that we would take 10 more of tomorrow. All right, Chloe's coming, guys. She's coming live. Hope she was ready to be on today. Chloe, we're putting you on the spot. I love it. Chloe is in the house. If you're willing to share your face, then great. If not, don't worry about it.
Perfect.
Okay, Chloe, I know you guys have a couple of different types of customer that you serve. So we're going to pick one that you want more of. So what is one type of customer or one customer that you would take 10 more of tomorrow? Can you tell us that while we're workshopping this live?
I know specifically one of the sectors of EPL is our energy efficiency weatherization program.
Okay.
So a lot of that entails where utility companies or providers will pay us to go into their customers' homes and make it more energy efficient. A great plus about this is that it does not cost their customer anything at all. But it's also really hard to tell someone, hey, I'm going to come into your house, make it more energy efficient. Your utility bill will go down and you don't pay me a single dime for it.
Right. That's cool. Okay. Yeah. So good opportunity there. Can you tell me just a little bit more about like dig in deep into who they are specifically? We know the vertical, right? What does this buyer look like? What's the title, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially any homeowner, honestly, renters as well.
Okay. Homeowner, renter, anybody who manages or pays or makes decisions about the energy use in their home.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So no title necessarily, but somebody. Now, tell me this: would this person probably have to be somebody who's willing to pay a little bit of what it says it's free? You said it's kind of free for them, but at least have like a concern or a care about efficiency and not just be like, to me, a homeowner might care more about that than a renter, right? Or no?
I mean, I would say yes and no at that same regard. I mean, if I have a bill and I can reduce it anyway, like if I'm a renter or if I'm a home buyer, I mean, I feel like it targets both.
Okay, so we know who that person is. We take 10 more of them tomorrow. So this is for everybody, but I'm going to ask her. So if you're writing down, I want you guys to write this down. So what did one of these prospects or clients call you about in the last 90 days that a competitor of yours would have totally fumbled, that you just excel at?
So we are in a really niche industry as far as this goes. Basically, the largest question that we get is, how is this free? Where does the ball drop?
Okay.
And our answer to that is, I mean, it's completely utility provider funded. It's kind of one of those trickle down effects to where there's government funding and grants that get distributed out.
So if they called you yesterday and they say, okay, I'm ready to do business with you because of X, tell me specifically. I'm trying to get this differentiator. So I'm digging in. What would you have done that would have just crushed your competitor? You can say it out loud. Nobody hears, looking up your competitors. Don't worry. Like, hey, we can do it this way, and your competitor can't.
So that we're an actual trade ally of these utility companies.
A trade ally of the utility companies. Okay. So you work directly with the utility.
We work directly with them. Correct.
Okay. So the buyer that you're looking for is a renter or buyer that is looking for a more energy efficient home. The thing that you crush your competition on is that you have a very, I wouldn't say deep relationship, but a very, you work directly with the utility company and have a relationship with them that no one, else does. None of your competitors do, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So relationship with utility. I would love to know, like, why do they care about that?
So not everyone can come into your home and be able
Okay.
to provide these services for their customers, especially for free.
Okay.
If you look around all across town or where you're from, any HVAC company can come in and say, "Oh yeah, we'll do a AC tune-up for you, or
Yeah.
we'll completely weatherize your home." And that's normally going to cost a homeowner anywhere from, let's say, $600 to over $1,000.
Okay.
And through these utility-funded programs that we're very fortunate to help facilitate out, it doesn't cost the homeowner anything.
Okay. So that's two things then: relationship with the utility, the direct relationship, and then that it's fully funded and free, where you can't get that from other providers. So that sounds like really good layering of a differentiator. Alyssa's nodding, so she's like, yeah. So how many would you say, how many customers have you worked with at that capacity? Like, that you'd be comfortable saying out loud to somebody, hey, we've worked with X number of homeowners just like you who we've been able to successfully save money for. Like, what would you be able to say out loud?
I mean, it's anywhere from, say, 50 to 100 appointments a week.
Okay. And then do all those turn into customers?
They do, yes, ma'am.
A lot of them do? Okay. So you got hundreds, thousands, it sounds like, potentially thousands of homeowners, right?
Actually, yes.
Okay. And then do you know on average how much money you save them? We're going to we're going to this one right here. These questions that I'm asking are y'all is how many times have you done that? So if you're listening and you're workshopping this with us, make sure number one, you have what type of customer you take 10 more of it tomorrow, which she told me is homeowners that are interested in energy efficiency. One of those clients or prospects that you've talked to in the last 90 days that you would just absolutely crush the competitor on, which a trade ally of the utility, relationship with them, and fully funded programs, essentially free, a free program for them. Huge right there. Nobody else can say that. The third thing, make sure how many times have you done that? What's the number you'd be comfortable saying out loud? We got to get specific on our proof, our authority out there. How many times have we done it? So thousands of homeowners. And what are you normally saving them, on an annual basis? Do you have that number or any numbers around that, Chloe?
Yeah, it's typically around between 20 and 30% on their utility bill.
Dang.
I could tell you, I can't really give you a specific, like, monetary amount. There might be some homeowners that have just one AC unit outside their house, whereas there might be a 4 or 5,000 square foot house that has 2 to 3.
Right. It just depends on the size. Awesome. Oh,
Mhm.
that's amazing. Okay. So for Chloe's differentiator, I'm gonna probably butcher this since we're live, but if I had time and a little time on my hands, I would make sure I made it really fancy. But okay, we at EPL, we provide energy efficient homes. I don't know if that's the best way to say it. What's the outcome? We provide savings, really, but energy efficient homes for homeowners or renters under our utility funded programs would be the thing that's specific. So named system, our specific program, something like that. And then you say, we work with thousands of homeowners and give them 20 to 30% off on their utility bill on an annual basis. That is a lot better than we make your home more efficient. Can you hear the difference between the two? Like,
Most definitely.
you see the difference between the two? No, I just butchered it, so we want to like fancy it up a little bit. And of course, I know Anna on our team can help you make it sound a little bit better than I just did. But if you get that specific with your differentiator, and then you start digging into those 4 problems. So can we talk through and again, we're still workshopping everybody. So obviously what we just went through, I'll kind of go back real quick just so y'all see this, but the hard thing you do for that specific buyer, if you have a named approach like ours, for example, that no grow scale framework, hers is utility funded energy efficiency programs, whatever that is, and then put that proof there at the end for your differentiator. Then you move into those 4 things, 5 things that keep your buyer up at night. That's the next part of this process. So what are those things? I'm a homeowner, so I kind of want to hear from you, and I hope that you have some recorded or clients that would be willing to kind of come in and give you help you with these things. But what are the things that kind of in your mind, not the services you sell, but the problems that you have, that your customers have that might be kind of keeping them up at night, Chloe, from a efficiency standpoint? I know this
Mhm.
summer it's getting hot, so I can tell you one right now in terms of our AC running all the time, but that's,
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of, if your ductwork isn't sealed completely,
Okay.
if there's joints or connections that aren't sealed, you might not be getting that correct like ventilation across your entire
Okay.
house. I mean,
Okay.
there might be
Love
one
that.
room that completely AC, you feel it, and then further away from your system, that room might raise degrees 10 or 20 degrees.
Okay, give me another one. That's good. That wasn't a service that you sell. That was an actual problem. So that's good. I like that.
See,
This is keeping them up at night. Cost, right?
call, most definitely.
What else is keeping them up at night? Y'all see where we're going? We're trying to create problems, and we want to make sure when we're defining these problem pillars, this is kind of where we're going next, folks, is this is how you build the content pillar strategy. Is you start with that real differentiator, not a soft one. Alyssa just told us we can't be vague anymore. So we get that specific. We dig in for the sake of time. We're not going to dig into each customer problem, but you just mentioned right there one problem. And our homework would be from here, we all go back to our teams and grab as many transcripts. If you don't have any yet, spend the next 30 days grabbing these transcripts of your client calls, your prospect calls, your onboarding calls to understand what their problem is from their point of view, and then start listing out the questions that they're asking, as many as you can. Alyssa, do you have like a target number of how many questions we should have for each customer problem? I mean, I know starting with 10 is good probably, but
Yeah, I like to do anywhere between 3 and 7.
okay. All right. So around, and if we find that we can't really address, like there are no questions around it, then that's probably not a good enough customer problem, right? You
Yeah.
should have plenty of, you should have plenty of ammo here. And then this is kind of where our team does the magic, is that once we have all that information, we turn those 4 problems and 8 questions, 3 to 7 questions a piece, that can become a lot of content. It's website content, it's blog content, it's social content. This is really where you start seeing the lift in your AI search results improving, is you're actually answering these questions specifically and not just putting some content for content's sake on there. Any questions about that, Chloe? Thank you. I'm going to probably either move you to quiet or kick you out or something. I don't know exactly what to do here. But hey, you did great. Everybody give a thumbs up and a round of applause for Chloe. You did awesome. Chloe, we can certainly dig into this more off this. But this was a really great opportunity just to put somebody in the spotlight and make sure that we understand how specific we're trying to get. So I'm going to move you to backstage, Chloe. You're still here. You're just backstage. Okay, awesome. So hopefully this visual helps. Feel free to screenshot. Of course, we're going to send these after this is over with. But now we're going to talk through just kind of the rule as we're closing out. And we do have, remember, 2 things. We're going to give you a whole framework to how to get your content cited for free. You're going to be able to grab that in just a second. It may already be in the chat. And then we're also going to give you the opportunity to take advantage of just the AI component and starting to build your AI content structure and program with the business growers. So, Alyssa, can you please let us know what are the 5 rules if we need to consolidate? What's the most important thing for getting your content cited that we need to know?
Yeah. So obviously, as we've learned, generic content is just not going to rank anymore. It's not enough to cut it. But also, more content isn't always better. Some people think that if you can publish every day, something will stick and you'll rank. But it's better to post fewer pieces, but make sure they're very high quality and answer the questions that people are searching.
That's good.
After that, you don't have to start from like floor 0. You can just restructure your existing content, identify what things sound generic, and kind of go through that workshop that Laura just did to make it more differentiating and specific to your company.
Yeah.
And then plan the post and kind of the structure it for how and what an AI will actually read.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, make sure the content that you are creating going forward kind of falls into those content pillars that you created and identified.
Yeah. Remember, the more serious we are about structure of content and these pillars being real differentiators, the more often you're going to say it, the more often you say it, the more these search engines know who you are. And so I always tell people, if Google doesn't know who you are, or if ChatGPT doesn't know who you are, well, first of all, if you don't know who you are, they're certainly not going to know who you are. So that's the first step, is really, before you do any of this, make sure you understand who you are and your differentiator, and dig deep like we just did with Chloe. That's kind of a big point we want to make here. And then we have the AI citable content framework that we're going to drop in the chat here. Our team has prepared and worked really hard on this for you guys. So it's a free resource you can take. Of course, if you know another member of your team that needs access to this, you can take that link, hand it over to them to make sure you're getting that. And then the moment we've all been waiting for is the next one coming up is going to be our authority building with YouTube and video. Many of us really want this, but structurally, internally, we're not ready for it, because you got to have people willing to, guess what? Get on video. And so our team does have our scale program. Now we've incorporated video content at scale, which means your YouTube and video. This is the future of visibility online. You've got to show up authentically as a human who is an expert in the space. And for those that aren't willing to do that, in the next couple of years, it is going to be to your detriment. So we want to see people on video so that you can differentiate yourself. And then what is coming next, we're going to be sending out soon. If you want to make sure you get an invite, you can drop your email in the chat. Although if you registered for this, we'll send you the third part and the recap of this. But this is what we're going to be focusing on in part 3, is authority building with YouTube and video, how to show up human first, and make sure you're going to get cited so your video content is intentional. So the same concepts from today, we're going to be moving that into YouTube, and then just going to give you, just like we did today, that framework. We're going to give you the best framework for creating YouTube content that's going to rank in these search engines. YouTube is a great platform, and we love it for all it is. And then we have decided, like I said early on, to just develop a starter pack. And this is, like you see here, this is not something that is quick and easy for our team. It does take a lot of work. Unfortunately, AI cannot do all of the work for you, and we want to make sure we have really smart humans like Alyssa and her team preparing the search volume data, so that we're doing everything we're doing driven by data and what your clients are asking. So we have, if you qualify today, there are a couple of things we would need to check on first, but we have an offer, normally a $3,000 program that we are offering. It's just your starter pack for AEO. It's not everything that we sell to all of our clients, but this will give you visibility to where you're ranking on these search engines. It's actually going to be your whole content pillar plan. It's going to be talking points for those who are willing to do video, if not audio transcriptions, because we want to take that and turn that into content. It's written blog content every month, written especially for AI, and then it's access to our industry masterminds that we do every month. Very high value that Molly is going to be able to talk to you about. So if you take your phone and scan, we have agreed to, before September 1st, if you go ahead and get on Molly's calendar, we will offer that $3,000 program for $19.97 a month. And so Molly's going to be able to talk to you about that, tell you what all is included in it, make sure that you understand exactly how we're going to be showing you what's going on and how you're making these improvements. But there is, again, we got to have a discussion first to make sure that it's something that we can do for you in terms of website and how you have things structured today. So Molly's your gal if you want to talk about that. I know Molly's in the chat. She's been throwing some all kinds of celebratory icons. So if Molly's still here with us, there she is. She gave us a thumbs up. That's good. We love Molly. She rocks. And this is essentially what we've decided to create, because we have had such high interest just for this AEO kind of starter kit. How do we get started? And the main thing here is, if you're a current customer of ours, and are working with your account manager, they can certainly talk to you about this. If they haven't already, I know some of you have already had conversations about this, but the main thing here is just to know, we're not going to need to get less visible. It's only going to be more visibility needed. We need more access to content, and real content, strategic content online. So from what we're seeing today, the longer you wait, the more opportunity your competitors have to get ahead of you in this. So it's very important that we are not becoming more invisible, but becoming more visible. So with that, I am Done talking. I know you don't believe it. Alyssa, any closing remarks or anything that you'd like to say before we head out today? And feel free for those who have questions to drop them in the chat.
Yeah, AI is becoming more and more important. It's been kind of fun to see how the industry has changed over the years. And this is the direction. It doesn't work to just dig in your heels and hope that it goes backwards, because it's not. So
Right.
and I'm excited for the next webinar to see how.
Yeah, no, this video one's going to be fun too.
Yeah.
I do hear from a lot of folks. I think one of the big asks or questions that I get is people say, well, Laura, my website doesn't really do anything for me, so I don't necessarily need to invest in this strategy. It's not, first of all, it's not just about your website, but second of all, this is a whole new layer. It's not, SEO is not enough anymore. Just the technical part is not enough anymore. This is a whole new layer of creating content. And if you are still building your business primarily off referrals, this is a non-negotiable. It's something you got to do to be able to show up and be visible online. So Molly dropped her link straight to that booking link in the chat if anybody is interested in chatting with her. Of course, if you're a current customer, you can talk to one member of our team. Alyssa, thank you. This was very productive. We're a few seconds over. Thanks for everybody who stuck around. We got a lot of folks still on the call, so I love it when people stay till the end. Thanks everybody for joining. Chloe, thanks for being an awesome participant, and we will see you next time.